So in part 3 of this discussion, we're going to look at the remaining 3 habits that are exhibited by organisations that are succeeding in integrating the customer experience, and we're also going to have a quick recap back over all the key points that we've made in parts 1 and 2 as well. So the 5th habit that we identified amongst organisations that are making progress in integrating their customer experiences is their ability to get data from channels. And there is a fairly straightforward reason for this. The other thing that these organisations have in common is they tend to use mobile channels more than other organisations. So for that reason they have a business driver to try to integrate these extra channels. But just getting the data isn't the end of it. The key difference between these organisations is actually how they're then able to use that data. And there are 2 elements to that. There are having the skills in the organisation to be able to interpret the data and understand how that relates to the experience that they're delivering to their customers, and that's something that organisations typically tend not to have as a skill in-house, so that you can either get that externally or you can recruit people to deliver that for you. But the bigger change that you see in these sorts of organisations is actually a cultural one, which is where that data and the analysis that they do actually is used to change things. The other key thing that these organisations do is then use that data to drive changes in the customer experience. That can be quite tough for organisations culturally. It's not a new challenge. For decades now, people have had access to data and done data analysis that highlight problems in organisations, but often the analysis shows that actually common assumptions and beliefs held by senior management in organisations was wrong, and it's having the culture where that data can be used to change things that are wrong rather than it being seen as a threat, and that type of environment has started to evolve much more in my experience over the last 5 years or so. The risk with customer experience, because it is so broad ranging and touches so many different bits of an organisation, is that it can be open to individuals' views and beliefs on what's right and what's wrong. And the important thing here is that these organisations are able to use data effectively to get to the truth and to understand where the pain points are for the customers, and then use that data to drive the changes that are going to improve that customer experience. Habit 6 is around united technology platforms, which we've touched on in part 1 briefly. Interestingly, what you find with organisations that are succeeding is that they haven't typically invested massive amounts of time and money in developing one single platform that delivers an integrated customer experience across all channels. Actually, what they've done is they've combined different technologies that work across different channels and across the whole customer lifecycle. So their view is not that we need to have a solution or a single point solution that delivers everything, but actually the key to success is being able to integrate what we have. When they look to make decisions about which tools to buy, the question is not actually can this tool scale to do everything across all channels, it's how easy is it to integrate other tools with the one that we're looking at today. And that integration requirement is quite key, I believe, in why these organisations are succeeding, because you can never expect somebody working within a channel to make a compromise on the capability that's available to them because it's actually better for other bits of the organisation. That's just quite a hard message to sell in. And actually the key thing here is to think about how you can deliver the best tool for each channel, but in a way that allows you to integrate it more broadly. And the 7th and last habit is actually the most important, and is the one that involves people, and the people who are actually going to deliver this new customer experience that's integrated across multiple channels. It's about getting people to work together across those channels. So what we see here is actually organisations that are succeeding are working in teams that work across both functions and channels. Having one particular team in one particular business silo that's adamant that they want a joined up integrated customer experience, as you'd expect, that's not enough, because by its nature they have to go beyond their current silo. The other thing that's key about these cross-functional teams is they get involved early, and they get involved in defining the experience as well as having to deliver it. We don't see very often a kind of what we've called here command and control approach works, where people tell people in channels what they have to do. That is a recipe for a lot of resistance and a lot of effort that would normally end up in failure. As you can see from the quote that we've used on this slide, it's about different departments coming together to make integrated decisions about what they should be doing to deliver the customer experience and where they should be spending their money. And at that point, you've got the experience going from the board level right down to the operational level and on delivery, and that's what these organisations are demonstrating in terms of their behaviours. So in terms of some closing thoughts, after running through the 7 habits and why we think organisations are struggling to deliver an integrated customer experience, I think you can kind of call out 4 things, and they're all around the principle of think big, start small. So it's really important that you have a clear view on where you want to get to, and even better where you need to get to, because need implies that you don't have a choice and that you're going to have to do something. But that doesn't have to be too prescriptive. You can just come up with some principles that everybody signs up to as a starting point. As you'd expect in most organisations, there needs to be a focus on proving the business value of integrating the customer experience and proving it as quickly as you can. Not all of it, but actually building momentum with some shorter term deliveries that can demonstrate to the business that A, it's possible, and B, it does work. That's really key. The third point is be flexible. So you can have a vision and you can have a route that you want to take to get there, but these things take time and that route will change. You know, new channels will appear, changes will happen in the organisation. You need to be flexible, and the view I would always take is just try to stop yourselves from doing things that make it harder to get to that vision, if at all possible. Don't get too focused on having a prescriptive journey that you're going to have to go on to get to the ultimate goal. And then the fourth point is think about actually the organisational and business change that you have to deliver in order to truly integrate the customer experience. What we've seen time and again is it's the organisational structure that's a key challenge to delivering any kind of integration across channels. It's the way that people are targeted, it's the way that people are rewarded, and that encourages them to exhibit certain behaviours that make integration harder rather than easier. And how you address that and make sure that everybody is rewarded for working towards a common goal is really key and is often quite difficult. So that's it for part 3. In part 4, now that we've identified what the integrated customer experience is and what the challenges are and why it's difficult, and explain to you what we've seen successful organisations do to help move this forward. In part 4, what we'll talk about is how CACI has found ways to be able to help organisations move forward, and hopefully how they could apply to your organisation.
You've been listening to Matt Hay from CACI.